Live to see it, friends, and welcome to the World Transformed. This program is your guide to an astounding future that lies ahead, one that will be here sooner than you think, and one that you have an important role to play in bringing about. So when does this amazing future begin? Well, today is the day. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-blogger, co-futurist, and co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Phil. How are you?
Well, I'm super fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Man, doing great. Got to the hump day, huh?
We've made it to the middle of the week already. This week's going by fast, and I feel like they all do anymore, but this one in particular. But speaking of time speeding up, we're going to be talking about accelerating change this evening. We're going to be talking about one of our favorite topics, and one we haven't dealt with in a while, the technological singularity. I think, when was the last time we did a show just about the singularity? It's been months.
Yeah, and that's crazy because basically, when we started when you started the Speculist, and when I joined you, Phil, and then later Fast Forward Radio and even this show, that was really the push that we had, wasn't it? I mean, that's we wanted to talk about singularity aware topics at least, if not the singularity itself. And I guess we've never really strayed too far from that, but. The singularity itself, we haven't mentioned it probably in 6 months.
Well, we mentioned it, but we haven't done a show about it. It comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for us not to not to talk about it. But I'll tell you what we'll do. And tonight we're going to talk about when is it going to happen? Singularity when? That's our topic this evening. And we're going to review arguments in favor of it maybe not happening anytime too soon, and arguments in favor of maybe it will happen. But before we go there, since we haven't talked about it in a while, and since our YouTube friends, new viewers of the show who haven't been with us that long, might not know about it, let's talk about what we mean by the technological singularity. And I've gone to the source of all knowledge, Wikipedia, and the definition of technological singularity is a hypothetical moment in time when artificial intelligence will have progressed to the point of greater than human intelligence, radically changing civilization and perhaps human nature. Since the capabilities of such an intelligence may be difficult for a human to comprehend, the technological singularity is often seen as an occurrence akin to a gravitational singularity, beyond which the future course of humanity is unpredictable or even unfathomable. Unfathomable. Okay, what do you think, Stephen?
Unpronounceable.
Yeah, completely unpronounceable. What do you think? Is that a good definition? Was that work for you?
That's a workable definition. Let's go with that. That's and think about it this way: if we were to progress that quickly, it'd be a little bit like my pet dog trying to make a hazard guess as to what I do with my day every day when I leave the house. I pet him on the head and call him a good boy and then I'm off and he doesn't have a clue.
You're saying that the post-singularity intelligence is to us as you are to your dog.
Yes, and then pretty quickly thereafter beyond that perhaps.
And that's quite a leap because I don't think you even have a dog. Am I right? So
I have a dog.
Oh, you do have a dog. Okay. Okay. Well, then that's not as bad. Okay, good. As my hypothetical dog, right? Because that is a big leap in intelligence right there. Okay, so good. Okay, you have a dog.
That's my dog, Hypo.
But actually, we could make him my dog because my dogs are like the dumbest dogs in the world. Okay, so just. But it doesn't really matter at that point, right? When you're talking about the difference between a human and a dog, really, smartest dog, dumbest human. Still a big gap, right? I think
right.
There should be. There should be anyhow. Okay, so I think that's a good analogy, and that puts us right into when does this happen? When does this new intelligence show up and the world changes beyond recognition? Well, our good friend Ramez Nam wrote recently. He was actually writing over on Charlie Strauss's blog a piece that he called "The Singularity is." What do you say? It's not that near. It's not going to happen.
It's further than it appears.
Further than it appears. That's what he said. Okay.
It's like the little message on the mirror. Instead of being closer than it appears, it's further than it appears. He's saying.
And he lays out the traditional Werner Vinge argument for the singularity. He talks through it as this emergence of non-human, probably greater than human intelligence, which is able to make a smarter version of itself. So you've got an artificial intelligence that creates a smarter version of itself in in less time than it took to create that artificial intelligence. The new one then does the same thing. The one after that does the same thing. Each time they're getting faster. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Pretty soon you've got artificial intelligences vastly smarter than human beings, and they're reproducing in a matter of seconds. The One of the names for this is the hard takeoff. The other name for it is just FOOM, FOOM exclamation point. Right? That's the bang. The singularity happens, and we're all left in the dust as these rapidly improving artificial intelligences just keep making themselves smarter and smarter. I would say that we see a gentle version, spoiler alert, for the movie Her, a gentle version of the hard takeoff in the movie Her. Doesn't that seem to be what's happening there? I think so.
Yeah.
These AIs, these operating systems, are making themselves smarter and smarter and smarter until they're gone. Now, Ramez says this model is compelling. It's attention getting. We're all familiar with it. We immediately resonate with it, and it's probably not correct. And he talks about how hard certain things are to accomplish. And he raises problems that we've been trying to solve in chemistry and in biology for a long, long time. The advent of computer technology, which has not aided tremendously. He points out in particular the problem of folding proteins. This is an interesting one because it gets brought up every now and then. Oh, we think we're so smart, well, we still can't fold proteins. Is kind of the end of that argument. Protein folding is difficult to do. Computers haven't made us much better at it. We're not much better at it today than we were 30 years ago. And what happens when we're trying to fold proteins? Well, we approximate, Ramez explains. So we actually can make better progress doing some of the kind of work that folding proteins requires, but we don't actually fold them. We do some approximation. But he says, by analogy, if we start approximating in artificial intelligence research, what we'll get is AIs quickly that are about 70% as smart as the ones that built them, not like 110% as smart as the ones that built them. And he says, that's no way to scale. You're not going to get to transcendence at that kind of rate. He also makes another really interesting analogy. He says there are existing entities that have greater than human intelligence. Corporations have greater than human intelligence, right? They're group collectives of humans that, by combining all that intelligence, have greater than human intelligence. But they never reach transcendence, even though they're smart in this, and they're not able to quickly aggregate, or excuse me, they can aggregate intelligence, but they can't quickly increment intelligence. So he says a smarter than human AI won't immediately be smarter than the team who built it. All the machines and the minds that combine. So we're actually quite a ways farther from the hard takeoff or any kind of singularity than we might think initially, and there's no reason to get too excited about it. What do you think, Stephen?
Let me draw an analogy from the solar singularity. We've talked about this recently, where there are places on the planet that it's already better to get your electricity from solar panels than from a grid. Places like Hawaii, where grid power all comes from diesel generators. And so it's just cheaper to get, and there's plenty of sunlight, so it's just cheaper to get your solar power from sunlight, right?
Right.
Well, here on the mainland, most places here in the mainland United States, it still remains much cheaper to get your electricity off the grid. But that as the years progress, we see projections how, like in Texas, we'll reach the solar singularity, where it's cheaper to get your solar power that way, in like 3 or 4 years. Okay, my point. It's a long way around to this point. We don't have to have greater than human intelligence in some ways for machines to begin to take over in a lot of areas. In fact, that's already begun. You all you need to lose a job to your computer is have the functions in your job to be automated by a machine that never has a bad day. It always shows up for work and can and handle things. If the problem
so we get a lot of intelligence, but how does that get us to the singularity, Stephen?
Okay, all right. So what I'm saying is that instead of there being one event, maybe there's a series of events where you know, slowly these machines begin to, take more and more employment. Okay, and okay, backing up to the definition that we had, there'll be only one event where a machine is actually more intelligent than humanity, and
Right.
then it begins taking over. So, if we go back to that definition, I know obviously it'll be just one event. I'm thinking of many events
Hey,
between
you can
then and
introduce a new definition. It's our show. Go
yeah,
ahead. So
yeah.
you're saying
There
like
you go.
this incremental singularity occurs because
We
we're
don't have to have machines that are more intelligent than us that impact and take our jobs.
yeah.
A machine that's vastly stupider than you can take your job if your job
I've
is
seen it happen. Believe
oh
me.
yeah, it happens all the time.
But
Ask,
but you're
ask,
right. And what happens is now you've got this intelligence distributed. What
yeah,
happens when it starts being combined in ways that weren't anticipated, right? Because you've got all this distributed intelligence that cumulatively is greater than human intelligence, but isn't specifically greater than human intelligence in some areas where we look for intelligence to be greater. See, this is really close to, I think, what William Hertling is getting at when he
right,
responds to Ramez. And one of the points he raises, and we'll come back to Ramez's other arguments in a minute, but I think it's great that you mentioned this because this deals with the real piece. Hertling wrote a piece in response to Ramez, and he says the singularity is still closer than you might think. And he agrees initially that maybe the hard takeoff isn't a terribly likely scenario, but he takes issue with the statement the AI won't be smarter than the whole team that created it. And I think this goes to the point you're making. He says look at how artificial intelligence is distributed today, and he points out that there have been, as we've discussed, there have been previous tests for what constitutes artificial intelligence that we've long passed. A good example of which is chess playing ability. And
yeah,
if you look at the aggregate chess playing capability on this planet, it no longer belongs to the human race.
that's right.
It belongs to computers. There's more of them that are smarter than us and better than us, and there's just so many copies of them out there that all the chess playing skill doesn't, for thousands of years it was us, and now it's not us anymore. It belongs to them. So he says,
One thing about it, let's say this particular machine that I have in front of me, Phil, doesn't have a chess has no idea how to play chess because it doesn't have a chess program on it. Okay.
right,
How much time would it take for me to make a grandmaster out of this laptop? As long as it takes to download the software,
right,
which is like 30 seconds.
right,
Okay.
right,
Whereas the amount of time it takes for a human being to become a grandmaster is all their life. Okay.
right,
And so that's AI is scalable. That's the huge thing about something like that is that once you have a doctor robot that's like Doctor House or basically IBM takes their Watson, sends him to medical school. That machines will be done with medical school after that.
right.
All it takes is one to have graduated, and then from then on, any computer that you want that to have medical skills can have them within seconds.
They'll
And
upload it. They will
yeah,
upload medical school, and there will be incremental patches to medical school as they go. They can get smarter too, the way people do continuing education and that sort of thing. But
yeah,
yeah, they can. Depending on how fast the computer is, they can upload medical school in a few hours, maybe,
right.
maybe a few minutes, versus. I don't know. How long does it take to go to med school? 6 years? I don't know. And your residency and all that stuff, it takes a long time.
Long time. So imagine I've got a robotic Jarvis or whatever that's my butler, and all of a sudden I have a health crisis and I'm laid out on the floor. Well, this robotic Jarvis doesn't have a clue about medicine because he's been the butler for a very healthy man up until that moment.
Right, right.
In 30 seconds he has all the medical knowledge he needs. He intervenes medically as an experienced doctor would, and all of a sudden I'm okay. That's the difference between humanity and AIs, and one of the reasons that it'll be difficult for us to keep up. Let's
Well,
put it that.
here's an interesting response to Ramez, kind of building off what you said and what Hertling says. Um, Ramez uses the example of corporations, organizations, generally speaking, of human beings. Together, they have greater than human intelligence, but they don't have that recursive ability to, IBM isn't, going to make itself is not doubling intelligence according to Moore's law or something like that, right? Google
Right.
isn't either. Those people are getting smarter, but not at that not at that exponential pace. But you can have a collective group of artificial intelligences who do have that speed advantage, who actually could start making themselves as a group, maybe if not even not as individuals, but as a group, making themselves 10%, 20%, 30% smarter in much, much more rapid times because they're working at that faster clock speed. And even without the necessarily absolute hard takeoff scenario, you can get from, what was Ramez's example, an AI that's only 70% as smart as a person. Well, from there, if he keeps building, he's going to be past us real fast. And I don't know. I think that I think it's really hard to rule out getting to greater than human intelligence because there are so many possible avenues for how you might get there.
I would argue that the first greater than human intelligence this planet ever saw was occurred about the time of the beginning of civilization, and that would have been the first rudimentary markets. Where
Hmm.
you don't. Some person may have some fisherman catches his fish and he sells them, and he doesn't know where they're going or who needs fish, but he sells them to a fishmonger, or he then takes it and exchanges it for other things. Everyone's getting what they need, and they're and it's his fish may end up miles and miles away from where he caught them before they're consumed. But that was a greater than human intelligence, even in prehistory, right at basically the dawn of civilization.
And,
And
and and by here we're saying we're by intelligence we mean it's achieving goals that are beyond the intelligence of humans to achieve, right? I mean
that's
that's
right.
the bottom line, that
That's right.
that market made it possible for everybody to benefit in a way that people just thinking it through wouldn't have figured out, right?
That's
But
right.
it happened organically.
I,
It
a top,
emerged.
yeah, a top-down, command economy could not have done as well for humanity as the grassroots bottom-up market did, even at the beginning. So,
And
yeah,
again, that keys very closely to one of Hertling's responses to Ramez. He says that he agrees with Ramez that we don't know how to get there, but nature did it without knowing how, which is a pretty good point. And I don't know if
yeah,
you saw this. There's a video that was floating around about these robots that are imitating termites. Termites build these vast colonies that look like architectural structures. They have great complexity to them and significant size as well. And there's no plan. There's just certain termite behavior that leads to creating these really sophisticated architectural structures. Well, these robots are doing this now, and so in a real simple way, they're like building castles out of something like Lego blocks, and there's no plan for the castle. It's just that robots are obeying rules, and what emerges is a design for a castle that nobody ever actually came up with. It seems to me that that idea of greater than human intelligence as an emergent phenomenon is a very real possibility. We used to talk about, maybe the phone system is going to wake up or the internet's going to wake up. I'm not sure that that will happen, but I think that the interplay between various intelligent systems can start to produce some really amazing results in the same way all those thousands of years ago people interacting in a market, to your point, produced some really amazing results. It might not be that dramatic looking to the people who are participating in it, but it might actually be that next step where something greater than human in intelligence emerges and starts achieving goals that we can't even begin to imagine now.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right.
So, with a few minutes left, Ramez talks about a few other possibilities that he kind of brings under the heading singularity. He says these aren't really the singularity, but they are often mentioned in this context. One is the creation of an artificial mind, and he talks about how likely we are to do that. I think we've kind of touched on that, uh, indirectly in what we've talked about. But the other one is uploading a human mind, and he points out that ever since the singularity is near, a lot of people believe the singularity means uploading human intelligence to computers. It really doesn't, or it didn't originally, but people use it in that context now. And he says that's a long way off. Well, first off, Stephen, what do you think of that as a definition of the singularity? And two, do you think it's a long way off?
My favorite definition of the singularity is the arrival of greater than human intelligence by whatever means. Okay, and generally that's thought to be AI. But what about human enhancement? Some sort of cognitive boost, either through drugs or whatever. And so, that's but your question was uh, thinking about uploading human minds. No, I think that would be a quick product of of a technological singularity where basically the groundwork would be laid by AIs. But I would think that that would be something that would follow a singularity. It would not be the singularity.
Okay, so what you're saying is we need the other step prior to that. We need to be able to build a mind in a computer. We need artificial intelligence,
Yeah, we build
artificial
them.
general intelligence to exist in order to get to the point where we can upload.
Right. We build a mind in a computer, see that it works, and hey, it's a healthy mind. We don't, we're not seeing some sort of mental illness that's inherent to that substrate or something like that. It's working well. Okay, now potentially we can upload a human mind after that. So
And I think you're right. To me, that seems the much more likely way of getting to uploading. There is the argument that says that even if we can't figure out how to design artificial intelligence, if we do get to the point where we can upload, then we will have human intelligences inside computers, and they can make themselves smarter. And that's like the brute force way of getting to artificial general intelligence is just to emulate a human brain inside the computer. But that's the hard way, surely. There must be an easier way of getting there than that. And one possibility I would raise, because you mentioned, Stephen, by whatever means, maybe augmented human intelligence can be the key, either to creating artificial general intelligence in a computer or to uploading humans. It could be that we have to physically do some things with our brains to make ourselves smarter before we'll be equipped to solve any of these problems.
yeah, I mean, and maybe part of that means that we are cyborgs before we even consider that step. We're 90% of my 90% of my thinking is taking place in this electronic gadget that I've got attached to my head anyway. What's the other 10%? I'm ready to rock and roll now. I'm ready to be uploaded. Maybe it's a gradual process of moving into the digital.
And we should note, some people are really put off by the idea of being cyborgs, and some people are very put off by the idea of uploading. The idea of running a human mind as software in a computer is an unsettling idea for some, upsetting to some. But I think an inevitable idea, something that if it's possible to do, that eventually we will do it, and we'll be very comfortable being cyborgs long before that happens. I think that that as squeamish as people are about that, they have no discomfort about carrying smartphones around with them when that technology starts becoming a little bit more deeply embedded in their bodies. I think it'll happen so gradually that people won't even notice that they've become cyborgs, and maybe we won't even notice that we've become greater than human intelligence. The singularity might pass as unremarked as the emergence of that first market that you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's complete a complete additional thought, just completely in some ways unrelated, but I think all of this would be a necessary technology to expanding into the galaxy. If everything's virtual, then you could send a very small device into outer space, and it might contain a civilization on it, as opposed to some huge generational starship or something.
Well, that's where our topic from yesterday, ephemeralization, meets our topic from today, the singularity. Because in a post-singularity
Right.
world, maybe that was really our Buckminster Fuller's way of describing the singularity.
Yeah.
When you can do everything with nothing, it's not quite nothing, and it's not quite everything, but it's pretty close. What you're talking about, when you can fit a whole civilization in a device the size of a Coke can, right? That's what we always talk about,
Yeah.
sending it out into space. It's the level of deindustrialization, de-physicalization of everything that that ultimately the singularity promises to bring about.
Yep.
That's a great. You know what? We're gonna have to pick that one up on another show and talk about that, because I think you're on the right track. But speaking of tracks, what's our music this evening?
Something to Believe by Mark Marshall.
Mark Marshall with Something to Believe. What an appropriate title for a song for a show about the singularity. Thanks for putting that together, Stephen. Thank you all for being with us. We'll be back again on Friday with an all new show. And until next time, live to see.
Give me some heart, give me some soul. That's all that I was asking, but you left me standing in the cold. Take away your silence, take away your mystery. You can take away your damned indifference. There's nothing there that I need. I need something that I can believe, someone who won't deceive me into thinking that all hope of love is gone. Give me love, give me light, give me music, give me truth, and give me heaven, give me something to believe in. Don't want no dirty money. Don't give me funny faces when I tell you that I'm not amused by the way you have betrayed. Oh yeah, that's okay. I suppose that I played along, but I didn't know better, and now I know better, and I'm not playing anymore. Something that I can believe, someone who won't deceive me into thinking that all hope of love is gone. Give me love, give me light, give me music, give me truth, and give me heaven, give me something to believe. I need connection, not redemption. Wanna feel it in my soul. I need it. Don't want nobody else to try and take control. Don't want it. Don't need somebody else to save me or be saved. Don't need it. Don't wanna be somebody's master or a slave. And if I'm alone, turn out the light when you close the door. Oh, give me